and we have a bonanza of genre for you tonight. Thank you to our audience for tuning in live. Thank you for those at home tuning in and listening not live. Thank you for StoryFest for giving us a home. Oh my golly, do we have like a who's who of horror and genre authors and editor tonight. I want to give it up for our guests. I'm going to introduce you guys individually, and I'm going to start off with the editor of the new anthology, Night and Day, or is it Day and Night? I don't know, Ellen Datlow! Author of the amazing collection of short stories, Good Night, Sleep Tight, it is Brian Evenson. Now, our next guest, you gotta play nice. It is none other than Rachel Harrison. Cassandra Khaw came in just for this. You gotta give it up to the author of The Library at Hellebore, Cassandra Khaw. Thank you so much for coming up tonight. It's amazing. Oh my God, you're not gonna get just one haunting. You're gonna get the many hauntings of the Manning family with the author, Lorien Lawrence. Do you like a game in blue? Do you like a game in red? I don't know. Me, personally, I like a game in yellow. It's none other than Hailey Piper! The next guest wins the award for the best title of a book on our panel tonight. The author of My Brother's Butt is Haunted. It is none other than Dan Poblocki. Give it up for Dan! And bringing us home tonight, the author of A Ruin, Great and Free, it is none other than Caldwell Turnbull! Thank you very much. That was our show. Have a good night. No. I want to say thank you to everybody for making it out this evening. It's been a wonderful day of talking about craft, talking about stories, publishing. But tonight, we are going to talk about spooky stuff. The stuff that kind of brings us here. I feel as if, given the fact that we have such a kind of large panel, I'm going to give you all the freedom, the privilege to opt out. If one of these questions doesn't, hit you the right way, just say pass. It's totally fine. But I really want to. I feel like it's a rare opportunity to kind of speak to you all. And we do have a lot of different, we have middle grade, we have adult literary fiction, we've got science fiction, we've got horror, we've got fantasy, we've got dark academia, and there's a lot of ground to cover. But for me, the way that I always love to kind of kickstart these conversations is I want to go back to that first story that you wrote. Like, do you remember when you were a child? Like, what was the story? It doesn't matter what genre it was in, but like, can you go back to that first story that you like third grade, fourth grade, kindergarten, wherever it was, that you committed to pen and paper? And Brian, I'm looking at you. I'm so sorry. I'm putting you on the spot.
I put myself on the spot by choosing the wrong chair.
Sightlines. It's all about sightlines.
So yeah, the first story I wrote, it was probably when I was 8 or 9. And it was a story that started, I am a rock, I live in the center of the earth. And it was about a rock who was under too much pressure, and it was just too much for the rock. And then that was it. And really, my writing has not changed since then.
Is that do you still have it? Like, is that something that like exists in a shoebox somewhere?
Yeah, no, it's actually at the Beinecke Library at Yale. It's part of my literary archive, so it went there, and so you could go and read that story. I don't necessarily think it's a very good story, but who knows?
There's pathos there. That is like,
there is, yeah.
Pathos in science.
Yeah,
you're like covering a lot of bases with that.
Yeah, my parents were, my dad was a physicist, my mom was an architect, so I'm the black sheep of the family because I went into the humanities.
Yeah.
And so I think I was, the science thing and the pressure of the rocks was maybe due to that. Who knows?
Okay. Well, you opened up a door here. I have to ask you a follow-up question then. Does your family read your work? Like, is this something that you bring, like, hey guys, like I wrote a new story?
So they do. My family, my parents have both been very supportive. I'm an excommunicated Mormon, and my mom is still Mormon. My dad is Mormon, but less so. I'm the oldest of 5. 4 out of the 5 of us have left the Mormon Church, and so they read it with a certain amount of skepticism. They're also big readers, and so they really do enjoy reading it, and they're very supportive, which is great. My grandparents, when they were around, would read it, and then they would tell me that I should maybe write something more like the stories that you find in the Bible.
Last question, I swear, but do they offer input? Is there like feedback of like any like? Is it? Are you giving it to them at a place where it's done, it's published, it's in the collection?
Yeah, okay. I do not ask my parents for feedback on my stories. I have a story in which there's someone who realizes his sister is imaginary.
Yeah.
And I read that once when my sister was in the room, and she burst out laughing, and then has not let me live that down.
That is amazing. Thank you, Dan. Do you remember one of the first stories that you wrote?
Yeah, when I was a kid, I remember making picture books in class, and I think it's amazing that now, all of these years later, I've just published my first picture book, and that it's about a haunted butt, which is probably something I would have written in first grade. But I do remember the stories we were sort of learning about at that time were like how the tiger got its stripes and stories like that. And I remember writing a story about how the walrus got its big teeth. And it had something to do with the walrus originally had like small teeth, the tusks were very small, and it just ended up annoying a little rabbit so much that the rabbit grabbed some rock and smashed the walrus on the head, and it made its teeth pop out.
Oh, I did not.
So
Wow.
I do remember that being like something that maybe got me looked at twice by the administration, but
That is amazing. Yeah, like I mean,
and it is not in Yale. That one's not in the archives at Yale, but
still waiting for that call. Yeah.
one day.
Do you remember the was there in fact an illustration of the rabbit smashing?
Oh yes, it was all
Really?
illustrated. Yep.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Color? Like, was this in like vivid? Was there some red on the page?
No, I think it was all just pencil. Very, very quick sketches, like as kids will do. But yeah, that was the darkness that was like lurking.
It was a brewing. That is amazing. Caldwell, how about you?
Well, I typically tell people when they ask me this question of like, what's the first thing that I did? I started in middle school, but it's actually a lie. Like I have something from elementary school that was like a comic. It was a comic book called Ninja 6. And it was basically a Power Rangers ripoff.
Yeah.
Right? And so there must have been some writing on that page, but it was mostly like me drawing fight scenes with like Ninja Power Rangers.
Yeah. Were you a big Power Rangers fan?
Yeah, I was. I was a huge fan of Power Rangers and Dragon Ball Z and all of the fun stuff.
Yeah. Is there ever that moment of like, I'm going back to that. Like I'm returning, like at some point, like the world needs some logistics at this point, I think.
No, I'm so happy this is lost to time, that it's not gonna end up in any archive anywhere. I'm very happy about that.
I will not be surprised if at one point one of you on this panel gets an email later down the road from like, this is the, Yale, whether it's Yale or someone else, like someone's going to be like, we heard about this logistics, and we were just curious if that's up for grabs. Could we put it in our archives, please?
Please, God, no.
Do you still have it? Like,
No. So as soon as you asked me that question, like a fear like washed over me that my mom like held onto it somehow, and it's in like a box somewhere. But I'm pretty sure it's lost. I'm pretty sure it's
Yeah.
lost.
Oh, it
and
is.
I'm very happy about that.
It is coming back to haunt you before you know it. Lorien, how about you? Can you remember one of the first stories you ever wrote?
I can, and I too ripped off something, although I swore at the time it was super original because it was called Thriller Nights, and it definitely didn't rip off Michael Jackson's, like, the font at the beginning of the music video. And it was about a babysitter who stole babies, and I don't know where I got that from. I also had the brilliant idea. I moved schools in 4th grade, and I was like, I need to make friends, right? Like, you have to make friends, and I'm an introvert, and I was like, I'm gonna put myself out there. So what I did was I sat at a lunch table, big group of girls, and I was like, I'm gonna win all of them over. And I told them this complete lie about how my cousins and I summoned Bloody Mary like that summer, and how she's real, and they all just, it was one of those big rectangular tables that was full. They all were just like put down their sandwiches and were just staring at me. And then I had to eventually, they were so scared, be like, just kidding, let's be friends. And I think one of them stayed friends with me.
And that was your bridesmaid at, no.
That was yesterday.
But that's amazing. Like, I mean, like, if you know, like, we've all had that moment of like, I'm gonna win these guys over. Like, this is my way. And was it like a spur, like, was Bloody Mary just like at the, like,
it was like so spur of the moment. I literally don't know why the hell I decided that was the track I was gonna take. Not like, I like swimming, I went to Colorado this summer. No, it was like Bloody Mary is real.
I mean, it's amazing because it does draw a line in the sand and say, are you willing to cross it? And if one of them did, I would imagine that would have to be a friend for life. Cass.
Hello.
Hi, how's it going?
It is great.
Yeah. I've asked you this question before, and forgive me because I just love it. It doesn't have to be a childhood story. Like, can you remember the first story that you wrote?
I cannot remember the first story I wrote, but I can tell you a ghost story from early in my life.
Yeah, yeah.
So the first house that I lived in, we were pretty sure it was quite haunted. To begin with, there was a tree in front of the house where people kept hanging themselves. There were like 6 or 7 people in the course of like the 7 years I was there. It was very not good. But when we left, we had not told my mother, me and my sister, we had not told my mother anything about it. And then we got our courage and we were like, Mom, I think the last house we were in was haunted. And we expected her to laugh. Now, understand, my mother is an atheist. She is the don't bother with a funeral, just burn my body and toss it into the trash kind of person. She's like, it's just meat at this point. She's that kind of woman. But her face went pale when we told her that. And we were like, this is unexpected. And she told us a story in return. My parents did not get along. They had different bedrooms. And so hers was on one end of the corridor, and my dad's was on another end of the corridor. And one day she opened the door to her bedroom, and she saw my dad walking down the corridor towards his room. And she went, hey, hey. She got increasingly angry the longer he ignored her, and was about to like burst into his room as he was closing the door behind him when she heard my dad shout. My dad was on their staircase going, what do you want? And apparently my mom just looked at him, looked at the bedroom, turned around, walked into hers, closed her door, and did not come out for the rest of the day.
There you have it. That's amazing. I always love coming to you because you're like, oh, there was this, like, I don't remember the first story I wrote, but I have this ghost story. You want to hear this ghost story? And I'm going to keep pressing you and asking the same question over and over again because I just feel like you're this fountain for real life, true ghost stories. So I'm going to just keep asking it. I'm sorry. Hailey.
Yes.
How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm great. I have to ask, like, can you remember the first story, one of the first stories you ever wrote?
So I can remember the first book I tried to write when I was 9. I was very big on like old horror movies, like black and white ones, and like stuff with Ray Harryhausen effects and such. So I wanted to write an alien invasion book, and I wanted to be like adult, like, because you're 9 and you're just like, okay, so being an adult book means it has lots of cursing in it. So I was like secretly writing like like, okay, Mom can't see I wrote the F word here. But that's what people would say if the aliens showed up and did what I come up with them doing. Because to me, the way aliens were going to take over the world in my book was they were going to like shoot these beams at all the chickens and turn them into giant chicken monsters. And that was the plan. That was the plan from start to finish. And and that would take care of everything, and then the Earth would be theirs.
Amazing. It's amazing. I mean, but I do think you bring up this great point that like we're all kind of we're kind of exposed to pop culture, whether it's like a horror film we see, or there's something that kind of like sears itself into our consciousness, and then like we kind of want to retell that story or kind of shape it into our own. I mean, for me, it wasn't Power Rangers but it was Critters. Like Critters was like I remember seeing the trailer, not for Critters 1, mind you, but Critters 2. And like it was something about that trailer and me being at that age where it was like, that is my story. Like that's the story that I somehow want to tell. So I'm totally right there with you. I would love, like, I want to see you scratch through the F-bomb, like, just to see, like, you know, this is what the real parents, this is what the adults would say.
Right, it's like this is what adults want to read, is that somebody sees a UFO, and these were flying saucers, like old school UFOs, flying over their neighborhood, and then suddenly there's a giant chicken smashing all the houses, and they just look up and go, fuck.
Family Moolah? Is it Planet Moolah with giant chickens in flying saucers?
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's in casinos. I play it sometimes.
Oh my goodness.
There you go. Someone read your story, apparently. it got into the right hands. Fuck. I mean, if like aliens do come down, regardless of whether they're chickens or not, I feel like my natural knee-jerk reaction is just gonna be just to give out the exasperated F-bomb at this point. So, and it'll be in your honor. Ellen, you're kind of in the, you know, position of, every time I ask you, you're like, I don't write stories, I don't do this. But like, I don't know if this is feasible, but do you remember the very first story that you ever accepted or edited? Like, what was the first story that came to you that you said, I am working on this?
Oh, wow. Well, it wasn't horror, though. But I
Yeah,
mean, I
that's
started
fine,
in
that's
science
fine.
fiction at Omni. No.
No. It doesn't have, it doesn't, how about this? I'll
I published
rephrase.
a bunch of stories at Omni, but before I actually was promoted to fiction editor, I worked on other stories.
Yeah.
Like Johnny Mnemonic by Bill Gibson.
We'll talk about that. That's amazing.
But it's not horror.
Like,
It's not horror.
that is an amazing story. Come on. So,
I was, you don't want to learn my whole...
come
my
on,
whole
William Gibson's story comes
He's literally
to you.
begging you, Ellen.
Well, I was an associate fiction editor. Bob Sheckley was my boss. Neither of us knew how it worked. So I read everything that came in, although usually the assistant does not. They only read the slush.
Yeah.
I read everything that came in, whether it was by a well-known writer or not. And actually, John Shirley recommended that Bill Gibson send Omni this story. I read it first, Johnny Mnemonic, and it was brilliant. But it was also very, very dense.
Yeah.
And at the time, I got Bill to expand it. I mean, it was too contracted. You know, I mean, the funny thing is, no one has the copy of the original story.
Oh my
So
God.
now, probably would be easy for everyone to understand. But at the time, in 1981 or whenever, it was something totally new. It was just I just needed him to clarify a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So, you know, his was an important story that I bought that I loved.
I just want to clarify, Gibson was not in the slush pile. Like, the story came to
Well,
you out of someone.
Yeah, someone recommended it, but John Shirley was someone we knew. He was a writer,
Yeah.
you know.
And-
I bought Dan Simmons' second story that became a novel eventually.
God.
You know, I mean, yeah. I mean, I published a
you're,
bunch, but
like,
they're not
shrugging,
horror.
like, you're
That
just
was
like, Dan
horror.
Sim- like,
Published
like
Carrying
some-
Comfort, by Dan Simmons. That became Dan Simmons' novel Carrying Comfort was originally published in Omni in 2 parts, novelette. And the only reason he claimed he wrote the novel is because, well, you killed everyone, you can't have a novel out of that. And he said, ha ha ha, yes I can. And he basically brought everyone back to life, which was a real cheat. But I think the novelette's better.
Dan Simmons, you cheater. That's amazing. If someone does not have that original dense copy
No,
of...
they don't. I mean, Bill doesn't have it. Eileen Gunn, who has a lot of us, it does not exist anymore. And it kills me because I really wish I remembered what it was like.
Yeah. Oh, man. It's in some archive at some community college out there as we speak. Rachel, do you remember the first story or one of the first stories that you wrote?
So I was very prolific as a child. I would dictate stories to my mom before I knew how to write, which I'm sure was what she would love that. I remember writing a bunch of stories, and somebody always died in a horrific way in my story. Not because I was into horror, but because I was dramatic and was just like, death. It's coming for all of us. But I remember, I get to go last, so I get to sit here and kind of think about it. When I was in 7th grade, my teacher assigned us to write a mystery, and she was 5 pages, and I turned in this 25-page mystery and I remember there was a shark attack and a body washed on shore, but the detective was I feel like this was a murder and not a shark attack. And then it was all a whodunit, and then she found out who the murderer was, and they were chased into the water, and then the murderer did get eaten by a shark.
No way.
And I just remember turning it in and my teacher was probably what? I asked for 5 pages, and this is dense.
You got a good grade for it.
I think I did. I think she was just I don't want to mess with her. Hey, here you go. Get out of my face. But I think that's that says all you need to know about me. We're in 7th grade. I was here's my magnum opus.
Which I find astounding given the fact that you have gone on record as saying that you are a bit of a scaredy cat, that you came to horror later.
But I didn't see it as horror. I saw it as a dramatic mystery.
Yeah. Oh my God. Do you have it still?
No.
No?
No.
That's
Does your teacher have it still?
I mean, probably not. This was 2000 and something, 2001. So
We'll check in with her.
Yeah. Miss Kavanaugh, I want to say.
Oh my God. Miss Kavanaugh at?
Mount Olive Middle School.
Mount Olive. Do we know if Miss Kavanaugh is still at Mount Olive?
Probably not.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's what
But-
Facebook is for. We'll find you, Miss Kavanaugh. If you're out there, if
God.
you're listening to this, we are looking for what would Jawsy? What was the murder on the beach?
I forget what it was called. I just remembered as I was sitting here the dramatic ending of it was the justice of the murderer getting mauled by a shark. And my mom showed me Jaws when I was 3, so that was.
Poetic justice.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, well, we're coming back around. We're rounding the bend. I do feel speaking specifically about the stories that you wrote, and Cass is kind of leading, perfect segue into this notion. I feel as if there are those of us who want to believe that there's something out there, maybe a little bit the unexplained, the supernatural, something that might not be able to be quantified by science or otherwise. So I guess show of hands, are there any believers? Do we have any believers in the supernatural? I'll take halvesies. So Caldwell and Lorien are just they are giving me nothing. They're just pondering, maybe not, no, thumbs down. Lorien.
I'm
Am I the only one?
agnostic. I don't
I
know.
am too.
I'm maybe.
Same
but
as.
I don't definitely believe it.
I mean, I would want to believe, but
I don't want to
yeah.
believe.
You don't want to believe? No. You don't want to live in a world where there are ghosts?
No.
No? Doesn't that make the world a little bit more interesting?
No.
No?
Can I clarify? I do believe in aliens. but not
Really? Fuck.
ghosts.
Yes, same. Definitely aliens.
Really?
Maybe something else. I feel like those are two different questions, though.
So on the spiritual side of it, the kind of unexplained phenomena, like that is like, nah, but like the extraterrestrial, something's out there, another planet. Okay, that is a good distinction. So then that makes this question a little bit more tough. I feel like there might have been places in our lives, whether it was recent or early formative years, but like, do you have a experience, an unexplained experience that feels like it could have been of the kind of like the supernatural, or like you just want to, like, maybe there's a version of you that's like, yeah, that could have been a ghost. I'm curious, like, do you remember, or has there been at any point in your life something that feels a little bit off the beaten, explained path?
Should I?
You're in the sideline, man. I'm so sorry, Brian.
That's okay. Yeah, I've written about this. I had an experience when I was 17 where I was lying in bed and I started feeling like something was kind of moving over my face, like insects moving over my face, and I couldn't move. And then the door to my room, which was on rollers, kind of like a closet door, opened, and there was a figure there that just stood there. And stood there for a long time, and then eventually it was morning and I woke up. And for a long time, that was something I felt like I couldn't explain, that made me very, very nervous. Later, I've come to think it was probably sleep paralysis. But even then, that still makes me a little nervous.
Yeah. Did you, at the time, like, the kind of thinking behind it, like the day after, like, did it, I mean, it stuck with you, so like,
yeah.
Have you explored it? Did it like lead you like in a particular direction, like to just try to explain it?
Yeah, you know, I in a way I wanted to forget it more than I wanted to explain it. And weirdly, the thing, I was convinced it was the devil standing there. And then the thing that was the weirdest was the feeling of these things moving over my skin. And that's something that I tried to figure out a logic to it or explain it. And you know, I could make guesses for what it could be. I didn't share it with my parents because they would just dismiss it. They would see it as, they'd look for a scientific explanation. And I just kind of absorbed it. And I think that may be one of the reasons that I started writing the kind of work that I did to process some of that stuff.
God, that is amazing. It started with the tingle. Like the tingle was the first.
Yeah. More than a tingle, but yeah.
Really? And it just, the moment kind of like sprawled out from there. Like.
Yeah, I don't know how long it lasted. I just know that it was night and then it was morning. And I felt like it had been, the whole night had been like that.
Oh my God.
And then the door was open when I woke up in the morning, which was unsettling too.
I am deciding not to go down the row after that because I want to ask volunteers. I want someone to volunteer from here because I know that you guys have them and I want to hear them, but I'm not going to call on you because I feel like that's the way I want to go with this because.
I'm a volunteer.
Yeah.
The one experience I had where I was pretty convinced it was true actually happened when I was 9. I nearly died. I think I had childhood meningitis. That is my current diagnosis of it. But as far as my parents were concerned, I had a 2-week fever that resulted in me throwing up everything, including water. And then after that, I had seizures so bad. I'm pretty certain I died on the operating table very briefly. Got brought back later. But here's the thing, though. My dad is dead, so I can't admit to this. But he was an enforcer in the triads for the longest time in his youth. Everyone raised their heads there. Wow, all the open mouths. Maybe that was a bit of a bomb to drop. But Malaysia is filled with interesting, like very ravenous things. And my dad turned a new leaf. And he had told me before he would never, ever gamble in his life. But as a kid, I was obsessed with those, like, you know, the scratch and sniff stickers and the lottery tickets are like that. And I begged him to buy some lottery tickets just so I could scratch up some stuff. I was 9. That happened. I got sick immediately after that. After I was done with the seizures, I remember waking up in my hospital room, and my dad was sitting in a chair in a corner. And I remember him quietly going, "You win, I'm sorry," tearing up the tickets and just dumping them into a trash bag and just walking out. The next day, the doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. I was fine. Absolutely nothing. All my vitals were back to normal.
Really?
They kept me there for another week because they had no idea what was going on, but that was it.
Wow.
Anyway,
There you
that's
go.
Dramatic.
that's a lot of story.
Is this the first time you've publicly spoken of what your father did?
Yes, actually.
Yeah.
He's been dead
Exclusive.
long enough that I can do it, I guess.
You've heard it here, folks. That was an exclusive. Protect yourselves. That's amazing. Yeah, Dan?
Yes. So when I was 11 years old, my family moved from Rhode Island to New Jersey into a house that we all very quickly came to believe was haunted. I have way too many stories to share here, but when I moved my senior year of high school, I was pretty sure that whatever it was followed me. And I have moved, I can't even tell you how many times since then, over a dozen. And some of the places I've lived in have felt haunted and some of them have not. But I oftentimes wonder if whatever it was that was in that house has followed me. One of the scariest things that happened was when I was in college, I was living in like a row house with two other friends, and we were pretty sure that there was something in that house as well. All of us were experiencing something in it. It would often just appear like the front hallway, like we'd just be sitting in there talking or whatever, and we'd see somebody walk into the room, and we'd all look, and they would be gone. One night, I remember going to sleep, and you know, it's college, there's ambient noise sort of all around a college housing place, an apartment. But I remember somebody banging on the front door. In my sleep, I'm hearing bang, 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 bang. And I remember calling out, like, "Come in." And bang, 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 bang. "Come in." I just wanted them to shut up. Bang, 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 bang. "Come in." And I hear the door open. And I was like, in my head, I was like, oh shit, I invited something into my house. And immediately, footsteps I hear pounding from the front of the apartment to the back of the apartment, come into my bedroom, and I hear somebody crouch down next to my bed, next to my pillow. And I hear them say, "Dan." And I woke up flailing and screaming and, like, you know, tangled in my sheets. And I just remember sweating. I don't think I slept for the rest of the night. But yeah.
That's terrifying.
I mean, it very well could have been a dream as well. But with everything else that had happened in that apartment, I don't know.
Oh my God. It's not that the apartment's haunted. You're the one who's haunted.
I'm
You're bringing the ghosts with you wherever you go.
I'm not, it's my butt.
Haley.
This is not much of a story. It's just more of like and then this. So when I was little, I would have these kind of recurring dreams of the shadow people coming into my bedroom and then take me down the walk to the driveway and putting me in their car. And it wasn't scary because I always just thought, okay, it's just a dream. So I was just like, there were days where I was just like, things were rough, and I was kind of just like, I wish the shadow people would come back and take me. So, but again, just dreams, whatever, it's like silly kid stuff. And then only this year did I hear from a couple other people. We were like sitting around talking, and they were like, they started talking about like, yeah, like when I was a kid, like these experiences with the shadow people taking me, and I'm like, what? So that's it. I don't have a conclusion there. I was like, oh, okay, so other people had this too.
And would you share details that kind of like, yeah, that happened too, like that was...
Well, I don't want to share their stories.
Yeah.
But I just like I remember how like their car felt. Like I remember how the seating felt. And I was just like, it was just very vivid dreams, but I just was always just like, yeah, those are just dreams. It's whatever. And now I don't know what it was.
Yeah. Have you ever had a recent?
No, it was just when I was like 5 and 6, and that was it. And it's just like never since then. I kind of like, it was just one of those things in the back of my head. I was like, yeah, I was a weird kid. I had weird thoughts, so whatever. And it's just like until hearing other people start to talk about it, it's like, oh yeah, and they knew people who'd had the same thing. And I'm just like, why is this a whole network that I didn't know about that apparently had shadow people taking them when they were kids?
Oh my God. If any of you have this dream tonight, just let us know.
It's not my fault.
But no, I feel like there's something to be said about the groupthink kind of transmissibility of it, that like it's something that like...
Well, right, because I'm just like, okay, so there's two thoughts in my head. One is like a kind of weird, like extra dimensional, like, okay, they take you and then they bring you back, and some people remember it and some people don't. The other is that some kind of Freddy Krueger thing where it is just happening in your dreams, but it's actually happening, so
Yeah.
who knows?
Brian, did you have a point? Yeah.
I was going to say, do you know the Alex North novel, The Shadow Man?
No.
So the same thing happens in that, where there's a bunch of kids who all kind of know the same rhyme about the Shadow Man, and no one knows how they've learned it or what it means. So yeah, it's worth
great.
looking at.
What if Alex North he also had these dreams and then wrote the book, and then all of the, like, certain readers read it and they're like, I had that dream too.
It happened, yeah.
And now you all are gonna have the dream, so.
I had a very minor thing.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah?
A friend of mine was house sitting for a 2-story house on Long Island, and a bunch of us went over to party. Of course. And we were all on the first floor, and and a bunch of people went out for mussel gathering for dinner. And I said, oh, I don't want to go, I'm just gonna read. And I was basically alone in the house, and I heard footsteps on the second floor. And that's it, you know? Wow. And everyone said they were gone. I mean, when they came back, said, no, none of us were here. So, I mean, do I believe something happened? Yes, but I don't believe in the supernatural.
Yeah. Did you say anything? Did you like call out? Were you like, hello?
No, I was too scared to.
Really?
It's like the witches under my bed when I was a kid.
Aww.
I would never get out of my bed because I was afraid the witches would get my feet.
Yeah? But they never did.
No, they never did.
No.
Not that I know of.
Yeah. they let you keep your feet.
Yeah.
And that's why they were walking on the second floor all those years later. Can I just ask, we're getting some friends together to party. Like, what did the party look like?
Basically, we just were drinking and eating.
Drinking and eating.
We were not wild kids. I mean, this was, I was in my 30s by then, I think.
Okay.
It wasn't like a wild, like teenage party.
You were in your 30s and you had a supernatural experience, and
Possibly.
And since then, you've just like disavowed supernatural phenomenon ever since.
Yeah, I mean, I always did. I mean, I just don't really believe it.
I'm a skeptic. I don't know. I think you truly do believe.
Hang on, you're a skeptic about her disbelief?
Yeah, right.
I'm skeptical of her skepticism. Yeah. Rachel?
Do you have an experience?
No, that's the thing. I don't. Like, I do
you
not have
believe?
any goddamn, like, supernatural.
I feel like you want it,
So
and they're like,
I want it.
the ghosts are like, the ghosts never go to the people who want it. The ghosts are like so hard to get, and I feel like you're in Richmond, Virginia, like, come to me, and they're like.
They're like, he
They're
wants
like
it so
cats.
bad. He wants it too bad. I mean, I am agnostic. I would totally, I would love to believe, because it just seems more fun to believe in stuff like that. But I don't. So I don't have anything. I have my imagination that, like, I'll be in the room and, like, I'll, like, be like, oh, this would be really scary if there was, like, something in it. But it's not that there's something in it. It's just that I'm imagining, like, what if there was something in it?
You'll get yours.
Man.
Ominous. Only if he starts playing
Ellen
hard to
Datlow
get.
just threatened me on live stage. Oh, wow. That's going to go down in history. Well, Rachel, what about you?
I have like one story, but I've like told it a bunch of times. It was in college. I lived in Beacon Hill in Boston. But I recently saw, my friend had a ghost in their apartment, and like I never said anything. I saw it once over the summer, and I always felt its presence. Never saw anything until the end of the summer, because my friends were subletting. They lived up the street from me, and I knew my two friends who lived there. One was very woo-woo and would be like, oh yeah, auras, and the other one would be like, I'm leaving now, and like would be freaked out by it. So I didn't say anything because I didn't want to freak my other friend out. And then right before they moved out of the apartment, I said like, you know, you guys have a ghost. And my woo-woo friend was like, oh yeah, the one that stands in my doorway, it likes you. And like, that's always where I saw it and felt it and whatever. But I recently like saw my friend again after like we hadn't talked for a while, and we had dinner a couple weeks ago, and I brought it up. I was like, do you remember this? And she was like, I remember the ghost, but I don't remember like talking to you about it. And then she went on to be like, yeah, you know, we were just, and she was with her husband, she was like, we were just like rented a house and there was a poltergeist there. It was so crazy. And she was like talking about, she was like, it threw a blender at me. Can you believe that? And I was like, she's just so casual about it. And I think that's why they come to her, because she's just like so chill about it and doesn't want it at all. But yeah, I have had an experience that like I couldn't explain, and like I never said anything, so how did she know? Like she knew like it was a male spirit, like a male presence. She knew where it was standing. She knew, like I always felt it when I was there. So it was kind of validating, because I can like, sometimes I walk in a place, I'm like, ooh, this bad energy, I don't like it, or we'll have some sort of like sensation like that. But I never had any external validation for it, so it was easier to dismiss. But that was a very specific incident with a friend who apparently is just like, has those experiences all the time. Because she was like, if I had an experience with a poltergeist and it like threw a blender at my head, I'd be on this podcast like, you'll never guess what happened. And she just like wouldn't have said anything if it didn't come up in conversation. So.
Oh yeah, the poltergeist who threw the blender.
Yeah, remember that time? Yeah.
I do want to go on record that the two people who were the most skeptical have yet to share any supernatural experiences. So, I mean, are we just saying nothing ever happened?
I feel like other things could be explained. And the wild thing is like my family outside of my household, like my extended family have had experiences to the point where they've like legitimately had exorcisms performed in their houses. If you go to like any of my aunt's houses, they all have holy water in the closets, in the pantries.
Whoa.
Like there are multiple people in my extended family, and then they all say, I'll be out with my cousin, and she'll be like, oh my gosh, there's two ghosts over there. You see them, Lorien? They're right there. They're looking at you. I'm like, what? Where? Show me. And there's like, they don't like your spirit. You don't believe. So okay, no, come to me. Like you, like show me. And yeah, they've had multiple exorcisms, and I don't know. I'm still just like, maybe your sister just turned the light off. I don't know. But, and my godmother was Ed and Lorraine Warren's assistant when I was growing up.
Sorry?
What?
Say that again?
You know this?
No, I want you to repeat it because I just want to make sure I heard you correctly.
Yeah, so Ed and Lorraine Warren, my godmother's boyfriend at the time, like when I was a kid, was their assistant.
Wow.
So she would come over and like tell all these stories and like bring signed copies of their books for my dad. But my mom was like, we're not a religious household, and I think that might be partly why I'm not afraid. And so she would come over and bring these signed books, like the demonology books, and tell all these stories about like real things that happen. My mom was an X-ray tech and in Bridgeport on Lindley Street. I don't know if my Connecticut people in here know what I'm talking about, but there was that like kind of infamous haunting, which really to me was just a kind of a sad tragedy. But my mom X-rayed people in the ER that were coming from that haunted house from having things thrown at them from a supposed poltergeist. So I like grew up hearing these stories, which might explain why I write what I write. But I just think people are way scarier. So I just have never been afraid of it. And even though all these people in my life tell me they've had these experiences, I'm like, okay, yeah, I don't know.
That is amazing, but I do love that your cousin's like, you see those two ghosts over there? Yeah, they're
every
just so
conversation, she'd be here right now and she'd be like, there's two in the front of my room, right there.
Is it the same two ghosts?
It's always two, which is also why I'm like, come on, Sal.
And they're single. All right, Caldwell. I'm not gonna pressure.
I don't really got anything, man.
Yeah?
Okay, so it's not. Okay.
Okay.
But when I was a kid, I would frequently go by my grandmother's house, and I would hang out with the other neighborhood kids, and we would play outside. And there was a place up the street that like sold like candy and this thing called Special. I grew up in the Virgin Islands. It's like a ice popsicle in a cup, right?
Yeah.
And you suck on it and whatever, right? So like you could go and get like a milk special or a cherry special or whatever flavor you wanted. And we would all go up and get our candies and specials from this other house up on the hill. And there was a house that was abandoned on the way there that everyone just understood was occupied by the Cowfoot lady.
The what lady?
The Cowfoot lady.
Okay.
It's just like I don't know, Virgin Islands folk tale, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so like, we would all, when we would pass this house, and it was abandoned the entire time I was, a kid, there was like no one in there, there was no parked cars in front of it, the windows were closed. And so we would all just run by the Cowfoot lady's house, get our candy, have fun, have conversations, and then run back past the Cowfoot lady house, and then just move on with our lives. And we just, years that way, just
Just imbue that house, that property with that,
And so at that time I believed it, but there was no evidence that there was anybody in the house.
Yeah. And one day the front door opened.
Right. I mean, that would be the great story, right? But no, that didn't happen.
Can I just add one more thing?
Yeah.
I am a skeptic, but if you put me in a house that was haunted by myself and it was dark, I would believe really quickly.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, if you told me that a house was haunted, I would not stay there.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm not gonna tempt it.
So we're like cautious skeptics.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I'm like,
But you've been abducted twice by aliens.
yeah, for sure.
Okay, I mean, I love hearing stories like that. Like, believe, not believe, like you all just kind of spun a yarn, and whether it kind of leads you down a path of like why we write the things that we write. Like I don't know, I just love hearing your ghost stories because nobody else has them. Like they are yours, and I don't know, it feels very precious to me, so thank you. We are getting to a wrapping up point, and I want to do one last rapid fire question. And it's volunteer only, I'm not gonna call on you, I swear. But I am curious, like, is there an urban legend or a ghost story or like something that kind of exists that we've all heard in some kind of shape or form that you would like to kind of take a crack at? Like, do you want to go back to that cafeteria table and do your Bloody Mary? Like, what is a story that you feel like could use a reboot or an update or like something that like there's more to be mined from it?
I feel like I have to answer first because you looked at me. I never thought of going back to the lunch table and telling everyone about Bloody Mary, but maybe I should. I did try writing my own urban legend. It is not published, hopefully one day, but it's called The Slink Man.
Slink Man.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And I don't know if that will ever turn into anything, but I am kind of obsessed with urban legends and how they spread, and so I feel like maybe one day I should try writing one.
You just infected us with the Slink Man, so we're putting it out there in the world. Positive, what is that, positive projecting, Yes.
I think these are all over the country now, but I believe it started in Maryland, is the Crybaby Bridge. And I don't know if you know what that is.
No, what's the Crybaby Bridge?
So it's essentially there are different versions of it. I think the basic version is that this family drove off the bridge one night and with their baby in the car, and if you cross the bridge at night, you can hear the baby crying. I remember there's one at my hometown where it was in the woods, this house, you could hear babies crying in the woods. So I don't know why babies crying keeps coming up. But there was one version where it's if you hear it and you look over the bridge, you can see the baby looking up at you from the water. And I'm I keep writing that into books and then taking it out. It's it's not time yet for my approach to it. But And it's mentioned by a character here or there, but I was like, yeah, someday I want to maybe try to write my Crybaby Bridge story.
Oh my God. Yes, please.
I have one that I can't write because the whole concept of it is so funny. I've not been able to find an angle for it. But there is a ghost in Malaysia called the hantu tete. It literally translates to boob ghost. And it is a specter that kills people by squishing them with her enormous breasts. This is a legitimate ghost that exists in Malaysian mythology. I don't know how to write that except as, I don't know, comedy smut, and that's not my genre.
Speak to your truth. Tell the story. That's amazing. What is the name of the ghost?
Hantu tete.
Okay.
It just generally translates to boob ghost, I swear.
Ghost. I dare you not to think of boob ghosts tonight, everybody. Brian, I saw your hand go.
So I would be interested, and when I was a kid, I was obsessed with Bigfoot. And then when my wife and I got married, I realized that before me, she had dated a third-tier Bigfoot hunter, which means that he wasn't the person who was doing the TV shows on the History Channel about Bigfoot, and he wasn't the person writing the books about Bigfoot, but he was putting together pamphlets and selling them out of the back of his truck. And it's a very low bar to have to clear if that's the person that you're coming after in a relationship. But at the same time, I mean, just thinking about that, I think Bigfoot has gotten a little bit of a bad rap and could be recuperated in really interesting ways.
I want to say something about that. Near where I live in the Hudson Valley in New York, there's a town called Pine Bush, and they have something called the UFO Museum. And I was told that there is a group of Bigfoot enthusiasts / hunters who meets there possibly on a monthly basis. So this is something you could look into.
Yeah, good idea.
Brian, I have to ask, I am so sorry, but like, have you ever been like cleaning up around the house and found like a Bigfoot pamphlet and been like, what is this? Like, why do you have this?
No, not yet, luckily. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
She has a type.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay, anybody else have an urban legend or a ghost story that they've been dying to kind of retell? I saw you,
No, but it's the same story I just told. So,
Yeah. I mean,
I would like to take a stab at it. I think it's really interesting that something weird like that existed next to us. We all believed it, and we just went on with our lives.
yeah.
Right? I would want to write something like that where it's actually like someone like Cowboy Lady is actually there.
Yeah.
And everyone just moves on with their lives. It's just not a.
I mean, that would be an amazing story.
Something like
Please?
that, yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't know, like, we have an editor here who's like looking for open calls. Like, I don't know, like this is, I want to like kind of like drop the gauntlet and like just like galvanize. Like this would be a great collection.
I mean, it could be a really good short story, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know how I could like stretch that into a book, but a short story probably.
I would read it. I would read it.
What about you, Clay? Do you have...
Of course, I should have an answer.
Clay.
Yeah. I don't. Guys. I mean, I don't have an answer. I don't have an answer. I know it's terrible. I mean, any answer I would give right now would just be reacting to the question. But by the next time we see each other, I will have an answer prepared. I do want to tell the story of like the two ghosts who just aren't into you. Like that to me feels like a fun story. I don't know. Like what is? No, I can't do it. I can't do it. I failed you, Brian. I failed you, Hailey. I'm so sorry. But I want to hear all of your stories. And I want to thank you all for gracing the stage here at the Westport Library for StoryFest, for Fearmongers. It is, I don't know who is out there listening to this, but for me personally, like it's always just a pleasure to kind of hear your stories because frankly, whether it's Shadow Man or Boob Ghosts, like it has been a rich, pleasurable night. So can I ask the audience out there to give us one last, for Hailey, fuck. Amazing. Thank you very much,
Thank you
Westport
all.
Library.
Happy Halloween.
Thank you, StoryFest. Thank you to our guests. Thank you to our audience. We will see you soon. Have a lovely night. Whoa!